Okay, so we're recording now.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a meeting between Dr. Carolyn Jenkins and James Davis, and the purpose of this meeting is to identify opportunities for collaboration to engage in a multi-university, multi-faith, institutional anchor development project. Okay, and so we're going to share the screen, entire screen, and you should be able to see my screen now. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay, very good. And what I would like to do is get back to here. And okay, so anchor institutions. I'm gonna make this a little bit larger because you asked me a couple of questions. Think about three, which were great questions. And I think this one document explains what we're doing right now. And what we're doing right now is working with a contract from the Smithsonian Institution, the world's largest museum. And I'll get into details about that Smithsonian Institution project. The most important piece is that we're looking to utilize this anchor institution community development model, which was conceived from a professor from Harvard University, I think in the 1990s. And what's so beautiful about it is to support communities, even communities that have been marginalized. And institutions of higher education are especially well placed to lead the communities and develop partnerships with other anchors. And that leadership piece is so much needed, especially in the communities that are suffering from racism and brainwashing. So here's bullet points. I won't read them right now, but this document is on the Google invite that I sent you. So
I read through this, but it's going to be so much more meaningful now as you go through it. You know, reinforce
gotcha.
that.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. You ask, what are we doing now? And what we're doing right now, since November of 2019, I've been blessed to work with a group in Aiken, South Carolina, New and Living Way Apostolic Church, Bishop William Q and his family. They're in Trenton, South Carolina, and I'm one of the limited partners on that economic development project in a rural community. We've also worked to create this type of anchor institution model with the University of South Carolina at Aiken, Columbia. I've had some beautiful conversations with the economic development department in Columbia, and I have a cohort who has talked to the president of USC at Beaufort. And the real secret sauce for this type of institutional anchor development is our emphasis on character, value-based leadership. Value-based leadership, I use the word spirituality because but a lot of people run from that word. So value-based leadership, which includes a moral leadership entity, community-based learning collaborative element. And this is critically important as we're dealing with some folks who seem like they've lost their moral compass, like our ex-president, and we can come to the table with other anchor development partners like Department of Defense and a whole bunch of other folks that need some support with projects that help everybody without just calmly reminding folks that God is working through all of us. And I believe that most racism is based on fear and economic development, like somebody else is going to take something from you. Well, our economic workforce development and working with governor offices in the state of Carolina, South Carolina, and other entities, and focusing in on key community building activities that include the key critical infrastructure like water, food, energy, and banking security. Our project drills down deep to address these key critical infrastructure activities when it's based on value-based leadership.
Mm-hmm.
It also includes wellness healthcare. Right now, we're working with the Adjutant General of the state of South Carolina on a project called Innovative Readiness Training, and that's funded by the Department of Defense. And it's about military folks working with community folks to build infrastructure. And this lists some of the other stakeholders in the state of South Carolina where we have a history of working with them over the last 3 years. So this describes some of the what. Please ask me questions if you have, because I'm going fast. I realize that.
Okay. How old is your business? Your
National Institute of Community Enlightenment was incorporated in January of the year 2000.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't have any more questions about this, I'll go to the next attachment that I sent.
You can go to the next attachment, but I would be curious to know why South Carolina?
Great question. I was introduced to South Carolina because, one, I was fed up with the West Coast. So in 2017, I left California. And the reason why I left California is the whole concept of the bling bling. And I was just fed up with my soul bones were not being fed. Like I didn't know about the Gullah Geechee culture of my ancestors. There was so much of me missing on the West Coast. I had to come to the East Coast to help find the human part of my spirituality on the Southeast. And South Carolina was one of the places where I landed back in 2008. And then 9 years later, I was able to spend more time in South Carolina. So I would say it was divinely inspired. That would be the best reason. And then there's some very dear friends I have in South Carolina that, matter of fact, where I live right now, I'm a roommate to a gentleman who's 93 years young. In 2 months, he'll be 94. And he was born in Aiken, South Carolina. So it was divinely inspired that I get to South Carolina.
Okay, what are your roots in who are your people, as we say in South Carolina? Who are your people? So do you have a lineage here?
Extended.
Where's the location of the lineage?
Aiken, South Carolina.
Okay, Aiken itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Burris's, Johnson's. That's my extended family. The New and Living Way Apostolic Church, Bishop Bobby Q and Gwen Johnson Burris and Gloria Allen. We all have been working close together for the last 3 years
Okay.
on this particular project.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing from a spiritual perspective. I feel a lot more comfortable working with them in terms of infusing spirituality than a lot of the people I grew up with in the Los Angeles, California area. Now, I don't know if that's more reflective on my spiritual evolution or the pace of life is slower in the Southeast than it is in California.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Go
mhm.
ahead, ma'am. Now, why don't you ask me some more questions? I think that might be the best way to.
Oh, well, I like where you're going there is you share with me the different, you were answering a couple of my questions as it was.
Okay. Okay.
I would share with you a little bit about another project I'm working on that, that's interesting, ties into some of what you just said when you talked about gullah roots and that kind of thing.
Okay.
It's writing
Okay.
that I'm doing. But Aiken, there was a United Methodist Church on Main Street in Aiken. Very small congregation, old building. Do you see it? Do you know it? Are you familiar with it?
No, but I need to, if you give me a minute, I need to write this down because I'm feeling like we're headed somewhere that I want to go.
Well, this is really kind of an aside, but I think it's important. But it's kind of an aside.
Okay.
I'm just simply saying that I worshiped there before.
Okay.
So I've been in the area of your roots, I guess, is simply what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, I don't know what all you know about me, of course. There's not a lot written about me, but did you know my husband was United Methodist minister?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, that was a church that he pastored.
Okay, and what's the name of that church, ma'am?
But we were not married, and
okay.
We were dating, and so I don't remember the name of the church, but I really believe it might simply be Aiken United Methodist Church.
Okay.
I'm not sure because that was many years ago.
Okay, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, and yes,
we don't have to remember all the details.
No, I don't remember that. Okay. But I do remember worshiping in there on something. Anyway, okay, so do continue. I guess one of the other questions that you didn't answer was I think you touched upon it. But tell me, what would be the invite of my role? What does that look like? As if I first need to understand your invitation.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Okay. So I've been led to believe that your vision and your energy in terms of being a researcher and a practitioner combining spiritual and I don't have to use the word. Some people are offended by the word spiritual.
I'm not.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Not.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you're a practitioner for community building, holistic structures on spiritual principles, and your appreciation of academia lines up very closely with my vision, and I'm prayerful that we can pursue this opportunity of creating a network of anchor development institutions
Mm-hmm.
of eds and meds, eds being educational institutions and meds being hospital and financial institutions, and using those as the core key anchor institutions, we can create a mechanism where select leadership can acquire hedge fund type of financing. We're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars to do focused real estate development, community development.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's huge, because for folks who haven't traveled the road that you and I have traveled, the prospect of acquiring millions and millions of dollars to help build community can make them drunk. Whereas for folks who are really being led by God to build the whole community, that opportunity makes them excited, because service, to me, service and spirituality are synonymous. So when we're generating millions and billions to be of service to help other folks, it doesn't matter if it's a million or whether it's a billion. But if your heart's not in the right place, you can drive off the road pursuing $100.
That's true. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's so did I answer your question?
I think you did.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes.
I
Yes.
think we work best when you ask me the questions, because that way we can get right to the heart of the matter.
Well, yeah, I think you have
Okay, so let me, if
we're
I
talking
may.
church and the HBCUs.
I'm sorry, say what?
We're talking the church and the HBCUs.
Yes,
And of course, medical. You're right. It's a very broad umbrella.
well, but you know what? It's select churches.
Okay.
Yeah, because as they say in Domino's, all money ain't good money. And United Methodist Church had the foresight to work with the HBCU Council of Black Presidents. And if I may, can I share the screen again? Because I got
Yes.
I think I have some good stuff for you to for you to see.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So come on now. There we go. So let's hide. I trust you can see my screen.
I can.
Okay. So let's go. Let's stay with, can you see this?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is Bethune-Cookman. Actually, I think oh, come on. This should be the 3-page document. Okay. Well, this is not the one I wanted to show. This talks about the Integrated Environmental Science program at Bethune-Cookman. And this is more tactical. The document that I wanted to show was this one. Thank you, God. Okay. So this is the Bethune, or this is the United Methodist Church website.
Mhm.
And here it says the Black College Fund leads the way. United Methodist Church helps make quality education accessible through its Black College Fund. Now, here's a sentence right here. The fund supports 11 historically Black colleges and universities related to the church, the largest number of Black churches and universities receiving funding from any church body in the United States.
Mhm.
That is significant. So this tells me that United Methodist Church appears to have the right stuff to be part of this hedge fund that we want to do.
Mhm.
Talks about legacy, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. Okay, so this is supporting the Black College Fund. So I'm jumping around because I was, another one of my documents, I highlighted the different presidents that I want to work with. And Bethune-Cookman University is one of them. Gloria Allen is a big fan of Claflin University. I think that you matriculated there, as they say.
Yes.
Okay. I have.
I also served on the board there for over 20 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, see, thank you, God. Now, as she says so nonchalantly. Okay. So Claflin is one of the universities that's on the list of associates of colleges that I want to target initially. So okay, so what you just told me kind of sealed the deal. A Harry Medical College, and there was one other. So between Claflin, Bethune-Cookman, and you might know others. I've reached out to the president of Payne College, but you know better which one of these colleges we would want to include. So that's this part. That's this part. Okay. That's you. You see, I do my homework. So I know who I'm talking to. At least I try to.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's get into this. We've talked about the. Okay, real quick, the Smithsonian. Not real quick because that's kind of condescending. But okay, so okay, the Smithsonian Project is a gift from God because about 29. So that's 4 years ago, I was introduced to this project called Spiritwalk. And it's was created by one of the board members of my nonprofit, a brother from another mother. His name is Les Hamasaki. And he's Japanese, but he thinks like a Black man. Anyway, this Spiritwalk project is to commemorate 400 years of African Americans' incredible existence here in these United States. And the idea is to create a museum to celebrate African Americans. Now, this is going to be a multifaceted museum. And we're going to put different Black legends according to where they are located. And one of the NICE contract with the Smithsonian is to teach young African Americans how to create documentary films and other edutainment content which depicts how God is working through all of us, and particularly people of African descent. And right now, my nonprofit has a contract with the Smithsonian Institution. Right now in Central Florida, we're teaching young African Americans how to do documentary films and how to research their legacy and how to tell their story about their rural hometown, and they'll be able to have those depicted in outdoor theaters like you see here. So this is really an unbelievable opportunity, and we can do this wherever we want to do it. So if we want to do it in Aiken, we can do it wherever we want to do it, because we're basically teaching our young people how to do this. And there's a 2-minute video about this, but I'm going to save that for later, because yeah, how about if I say that for later? Because the other thing I wanted you to see is this video, which hopefully you can hear. This is less than a minute long.
Okay.
Come on. Could you hear that?
No, I don't hear it.
Okay. That means
I heard something, but no, I don't hear it.
okay, because sometimes I've learned on Google Meet, this is me narrating. I'm standing outside the African American Jazz Museum in Kansas City. So I'm gonna try it again. If you don't hear it, I have to share my screen in a different manner. Okay.
Okay.
Could you hear that?
I heard a word. Continue playing. No, I don't. I don't hear it.
Okay. Well, it'll just take me a second to
No problem.
stop presenting, and then I'll present with a special tab opening. That's one thing about this technology. After you do it a few times, it should be okay.
While you're doing that, how many people, or do you have an amount of people that you had intended to extend the invitation to in terms of where you are headed now?
Well, you know, that is a great question. And one, I'd say you're the second person, because everybody's not ready for this.
Okay.
I mean, I wish you could say it's a whole group, but then in a way, I guess I'm kind of glad it's not. Okay, you ready to? I think we're good to go now.
Okay.
Now I'm across the street from the entrance. Could you hear that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you, God. Okay, so let's, and I guess. Now I'm across the street from the entrance. Here we see the American Jazz Museum on the left. And we see the Negro Baseball Museum entrance. Building is on the right-hand side. There's their logo. Down the street, it's commercial redevelopment. This is a redevelopment area. So that's looking toward the west. Here's looking toward the east. New housing. And so this is a redevelopment area, straight up. So this is it. You got to pay to go inside, but this is an example of aggressive, ethnically based redevelopment. Okay. Now there's one other. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't throw us out. Now, the reason why this is germane is this is what our hedge funding is going to create. Could you hear that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Absolutely. Now you are
Go ahead.
you
That's me
doing this,
talking.
you plan to do this in this
In every city,
in
in,
every city.
in every city where we have the leadership to handle it. And the reason why this is not outside the realm of possibility is because this creates jobs. This creates benefit for the politicians. Redevelopment, this is part of my academic training. Most cities get millions of dollars for redevelopment projects. We as people of color don't get access to it because we're discriminated against. But this model integrates spirituality, economic development, us projecting ourselves as kings and queens of African descent, and it makes money. It provides financing for hedge fund investors, and it's already been done. And it has to have political support, and that's where that spirit walk piece comes in. So the politicians that are promoting this, it's a way for them to pat themselves on the back, do projects that uplift the local economy and help them get votes.
Mm-hmm. Did you think about the city of Orangeburg?
That's why I need partners like yourself, because you would be able to determine where is the best place. My role in this is to create a tool and invite folks that can tell where we should use the tool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can I continue with this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. But not to stymie any more questions, because your questions are more important than the video.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
You're not related to James K. Davis of
No,
South
ma'am.
Carolina. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there's one more that's only a minute, and we'll be done with this piece.
That's fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is germane because that's showing a historic location that the city invested in. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. Those are some brothers in Mobile, Alabama, Veterans Garden that I did. So
okay, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the screen.
okay, well, yeah, that's God has blessed me God has shined a light on a path that I've taken in a lot of different directions. So I have to say it's the Father within that doeth the work. Okay, so can you see the screen here?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, let me go back in. I need to reshare. Let's do entire screen. And this will be the last show and tell that I do. Maybe. So this document here is the letter to, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is a letter to Lonnie Bunch, the Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. And the highlights is we're teaching young people how to build the type of facilities we saw in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And we're using the Smithsonian Institution as a marketing entity to help us publicize us, showing our people how to build facilities. And this document here has different examples of, I just showed you the 3 YouTubes. It's embedded in here. And then this is showing young people actually doing historic preservation work. Can you see that right there?
I can.
Okay. So the advantage of us using this particular model, our hedge fund, and this here they're doing historic preservation work. This is about 5 times more difficult than new construction, because you have to take your time, just like you see this young sister right here, concentrating. You can't be playing around when you're doing historic preservation, because this wood may be old, and if you break it, you can't go to the lumber yard and get another piece.
Right.
So this is the type of precision type of work we want to teach our young people to do. And this is the National Trust for Historic Preservation. They have African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund. I mean, these are hidden gems that we can use for community building. And it's an incredible opportunity that is only incredible. It's an incredible tool to be used by those who are sensitive enough to appreciate the spiritual power behind the use of the tool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm ready to entertain any other questions. I think I've covered everything that was on the agenda. Number 2 was JD to propose that the institutional anchor development can provide support for a hedge fund that could provide resources for the Reverend A. Clark Jenkins Endowment Scholarship. Have I explained that proposition?
You have explained most of that, except how does it directly go into the fund? I mean, what does that piece of it look like? Now, I understand clearly, I believe, the overall proposal, what you're doing, how valuable it is. And also, I can certainly sense all of your compassion, as well as clear that you know what you're doing, and that what you don't know, I think you clearly following the spirit, which is probably more powerful than all your learning. But anyway, yes. So, how does the funding get into, say, the Clark Jenkins Fund on a particular campus?
Well,
that's I'm sorry for interrupting, but
no.
But
Great question.
But money is not everything to me. I mean, money is a great tool. It can help you, get access and share and that kind of thing. But even though we're talking about the money, I'm asking you about how the money flows into such a program or scholarship fund. But it appears that is such a small piece of what you're talking about here. So I clearly understand that. But that was a part of the connection that you invited me in on.
So you answered your own question, right?
Did I? Oh, no.
I love that. The reason why I'm chuckling, one, you did a James Davis where you asked the question, and then as you thought it out, you answered it. Yes, ma'am, you did. And then however, I'm going to address it from a tactical point of view. I found the document that I was looking for before. So I think this will help provide some background to the great question that you ask. So let's close that. And can you see my screen?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you asked earlier about who are the participants of the Florida A&M. Come on, there we go. So here, let's see if we can get this right in here. And this should. So this is the Center for Coastal and Marine Ecosystem Research and Collaboration. So the lead institution, can you read this okay?
I can see it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The lead institution is Florida A&M University, and partner institutions, Bethune-Cookman, California State University, Monterey Bay, Jackson State University, Mississippi, Texas A&M, University of Texas.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So this one received initially $15.4 million. What I'm suggesting is that we create our own, and that would look like, I can send you this proposal.
Please do.
I'm happy to say that this has been researched. Not saying that it's perfect, but a lot of thought has. Empowerment Academy is a nonprofit that I have invited to be an operational piece of this. University of Florida, I'm suggesting that the universities that we invite to this, and I had Claflin in here, but it looks like I don't have it on this one. These are low-hanging fruit universities because I have or desire to have relationship with most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Savannah State University, that's in Georgia, definitely have connections here. Claremont is in California. There's a connection there with their president. University of South Florida, there's a director of community outreach and engagement who's all on board with this. Emory University, I'm in the process of reaching out to their president. These type of multi-university hedge fund engagement requires the president to sign off on it. Mm-hmm. And over here on the right hand, where it says this approach is similar to the enormously successful Farallon hedge fund that was created by Tom Steyer. So what we're seeking to duplicate is what he already did with Yale, and their hedge funds are in high operation right now. And there's some Black billionaires, like I think it's Robert Smith, who is the gentleman who gets a lot of press when he does graduation ceremony addresses at different HBCUs. And at the end of this speech, he says, "Oh, by the way, for all your graduates, I just paid for your college tuition bill."
He did that at Morehouse. And but anyway.
Yeah. Well, he also funds that National Trust for Historic Preservation, African American Heritage Fund, teaching young people to do construction on HBCUs and other historic monuments. So those are the type of partners I'm praying will be part of this partnership. And how you asked a great question of how does the dollars get to the Clark Endowment Fund? Well, the only other person who I feel is insightful enough to be part of this hedge fund creation, her name is attorney Shantavia Johnson, and she's the dean of the Clemson University School of Engagement. And I've run this by her, and she said, "James, you're right on the money." And the good thing is she's in her late 30s. So I'm also knowing that this is, I may not see this get to the finish line, but something this powerful in the right hands will be sustainable. And the other piece that I strongly believe is that what we're doing is this heart right here, empathy. We require that all of our participants agree and operate from a position of empathy for those who are racially, socially, economically, and mentally disenfranchised. And this is another way of describing spirituality without saying the spirituality word. And then I've got connections with the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Commission. I mean, I'll send this to you right now because this is a venture capital proposal. So when you see the level of detail, you'll see that this is hopefully something worthy of your consideration.
It's a powerful piece.
Well, thank you, ma'am, for your time. I'm gonna make sure that I address the questions, issues that I had on the agenda, discuss the relevance of the Eds and Meds Anchor Institution. I think we did that. I think we've discussed everything that I was hopeful that we could cover.
Could you speak to health and spirituality? Is there a place for health and spirituality? And I think it is. Can you tell me what you might see as it relates to health and spirituality in terms of whether there's a place for it under this umbrella?
Oh,
is it? Because I think you identified it, but go ahead. Could you speak a little bit about that?
I think I read recently where Jackie Robinson was a member of the United Methodist Church. Do you know if that's correct?
I don't.
Okay, well, I'm almost positive that I read that in my research. And the reason why I'm using him to address your question of the connection between health and spirituality, Jackie Robinson was one of the greatest athletes of our time. And he died at the age of 53. And when someone was answering why he died at seemingly such a early age, they said the racism
Mm,
took the life out of him, all the racism he had to endure.
mm,
And the flip side of that would be if he wasn't a member of the United Methodist Church and his mom got him in the church early. And I believe that it's our spiritual essence that keeps us alive. And there's a definite connection between us allowing God to work through us and lining up with anchor institutions, both in the academic and wellness community, and keeping that to be forefront in our head, our heart, and our hands, which is the logo for Bethune-Cookman University. They're part of our DNA. There's no separation between spirituality and wellness. And it's that term that Jesus said, it's the Father within that doeth the work. And that work is to keep us healthy enough where we can, I think of Michelle and Barack Obama and their family. God is keeping them whole. God is keeping us whole. God right now is keeping James Davis's heart beating. There's no separation between the two.
mm, mm, mm. Okay. Gotcha. Mhm.
Okay.
So,
And we're seeking to institutionalize that notion rather than that just being some words that have a 2-second relevance. When we institutionalize it and people are concentrating that throughout the day, and our business reflects that 7 days a week, that's another intention of our nonprofit.
mhm. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You were going to ask me another
No,
question.
no, I don't think so. I think that would
Okay.
be where I'm good.
Okay.
So what's next?
How about if I get you a debriefing statement, which will hopefully capsulize what we discussed? And you can let me know if I missed anything major. And then as you share it with your partner or partners, we can talk about how the Smithsonian contract that NICE has and how our ongoing effort to empower young people can be accelerated with this hedge fund, because there's a lot of different moving parts. And I believe that the oil for the different moving parts is spirituality.
Mhm.
And I also know that you are bringing a lot of light to this project in ways that I have no idea, but I know that we wouldn't be talking right now if that were not the case.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Let me share with you just a little bit about me,
Okay, please
because
do.
that's where we started, of course. And but I just want to say a couple things as it relates to our conversation today.
Okay.
First of all, yes, I served on the board of trustees at Claflin for over 20 years, and I have a definite relationship with that HBCU. And of course, you know, from my information that you pulled, I'm a two-time HBCU graduate, as well as the University of South Carolina, but North Carolina Central and Claflin. So, and another service organization that I'm affiliated with is Alpha Kappa, Alpha Sorority. And we had a particular target, which we're just changing up our programming because we have a new national president, and we're doing her program, beginning to do her program now. But you may know that we raised, our first goal was to raise $1 million in one day for HBCUs, and we did that. And 4 years, and for 4 years, we raised $1 million in one day for HBCUs. And the last year, we raised 2.8 million. The last year, so in one day. And we have established scholarships at all of the $50,000 scholarships. No, we're actually not a scholarship, endowment contributions. But at all 4-year HBCUs. And in my local chapter, I just happen to have co-chaired that target in my local chapter. And so I go deep with the universities, the HBCUs, okay? And it's very passionate. And I've traced my family lineage between my husband and I, who you know is deceased, back to the 1800s of family members having graduated and or attended Claflin. This was done just with the Claflin piece. And so now I don't know which endowment fund that you noted on my husband is the one at Claflin, or is that the one at Africa University? Because I have one on each of those campuses.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
And with the Africa University piece, so Africa University is a United Methodist institution, supported institution, and it's 30 years old. We're coming upon the 30th year. What's interesting is that when they first started talking about an Africa University years ago, my husband and I were in on such a conversation before they moved forward with it, but I would point it out it was my husband. But I'm gonna show you something that's really fun. Excuse me for just a second.
Okay, take your time.
And I'm just sharing with you just a little bit about what I thought about in our conversation. And before I share this with you, in terms of the churches, so I told you my husband was the pastor at an Aiken United Methodist Church. He was a student in college and he was their pastor. And so he started in the ministry, not in kindergarten, but at a young age. And anyway, he has served in 3, and of course I was with him, 3 states, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And he's served as superintendent in 2 of those states. And so what I'm getting at is that I've been in a lot of churches. and so, but anyway, it's been all exciting. But in the midst of our work, and I say our work, my husband and mine, we, I always said he did his thing, I did mine, but we supported each other. We had a wonderful bond. But anyway, one thing about him and me is that we had different decorating styles, right? And so whatever it is that he wanted in a room and how he wanted it laid out, it was always very different from what I wanted. And so at some point in time, this piece right here in my hand, I wanted to just get rid of it, right? I wanted to
Okay.
throw it away,
Okay.
right? Because
Okay.
it was not fitting in at the time. And so it's been since his death that I came to know what this is. Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
Okay. This is what they call the Drum Major Award,
Okay.
given to him for his work in support of Africa University.
Okay.
No idea what this was. I thought it was junk. So anyway, that said, we have a deep connection, and we had, in terms of him, and I have a deep connection with these universities as well as the churches.
Mm-hmm.
So the conversation, in addition to the academics, which I feel good about what I've been blessed to be able to have my hands on in terms of serving, that has helped me to be able to pull on different pieces of what I have experienced to share as need be, wherever I am. And at any particular given time, I think it's been also that which could fit into what you are, I think, needing and wanting to consider as a part of your team. So I just wanted to say a little bit there. That's just a little bit about me. I have two beautiful children, and I'm going to share this piece with one of them. So
beautiful.
So I'd like to think about this.
Now, the Drum Major Award, is that the same drum major as Dr. King's speech?
No, it's not, but it's given by Africa University. So Africa University has a drum major award that they give. Honor people who have been, and I don't know all of the requirements for the award. I've seen it awarded to at least on 2 occasions. Obviously, I missed the time when my husband received this award, and but anyway, I know the vice president of Africa University, whose office is in the United States in Nashville, because that's Jim Sally. I don't know if you know Dr. James Sally or not, but he is, well, he has now a new title. And so he is now president of Africa University out of that site. And so he travels back and forth between the 2 continents. So I know a little bit about the seed that was planted and being planted back as far as 30 years, as Africa University is about to celebrate its 30th year.
Wow.
So
well, thank you, Dr. Jenkins, so much for sharing, because that's a lot. And thank you for sharing, and forgive me for not asking you to share.
we're good.
I'm humbled. Okay. Well, beautiful. Well, if any other questions?
None. You've answered mine, and look forward to receiving your information. And I don't know how I'll share this with my son. I don't know if I'll have access, but if you figure that out for me, that'd be great.
Well, I'll make this into a YouTube.
Okay.
Which he can watch on his computer, watch on his phone, and send all the documents. So that's the easy part.
Okay, wonderful. Do that, please.
All right, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your interest as well.
Okay. Take care.